Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Ballabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Banachari Jamunatira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Ballabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Ballabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Banachari Jamunatira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stottara Satashi Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stottara Satashi Srimad, His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh glories to the assembled devotees. Oh glories to the assembled devotees. Oh glories to the assembled devotees. O glories to Shishiguru and Shigauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, entitled Liberation, Chapter 11. Lord Ramacandra rules the world. Text number 23 and 24. Purusho Ramacharitam Sravanair Upadharajam Anrishamsya Paro Rajam Karma Bandhair Vimuchyate. Purusho Ramacharitam Shravanair Upadharajam Anrishamsya Paro Rajam Karma Bandhair Vimuchyate. Purusho Ramacharitam Sravanair Upadharajam Anrishamsya Paro Rajam Karma Bandhair Vimuchyate. Please chant. Purushaha, any person, Ramacharitam, the narration concerning the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramacandra. All right. The narration concerning the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramacandra. Shravanai, by oral reception. Upadharayam, simply by this process of hearing. Amsramsya paraha, Anrishamsya paraha, becomes completely free from envy. Rajam, O King Parikshit, karma bandhai, by the bondage of fruitive activities. Vimuchyate, one becomes liberated. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O King Parikshit, anyone who orally received the narrations concerning the characteristics of Lord Ramachandra's pastimes will ultimately be free from the disease of envy and thus be liberated from the bondage of fruitive activities. Purport. Here in this material world, everyone is envious of someone else. Even in religious life, it is sometimes found that if one devotee has advanced in spiritual activities, other devotees are envious of him. Such envious devotees are not completely free from the bondage of birth and death. As long as one is not completely free from the cause of birth and death, one cannot enter the Sanatan Dham, or the eternal pastimes of the Lord. One becomes envious because of being influenced by the designations of the body. But the liberated devotee has nothing to do with the body, and therefore he is completely on the transcendental platform. A devotee is never envious of anyone, even his enemy, because the devotee knows that the Lord is his supreme protector. He thinks, quote, what harm can the so-called enemy do? End of quote. Thus a devotee is confident about his protection. The Lord says, Ye yatatmam prapadyante tanstataiva bhajamyaham. Quote, according to the proportion of one's surrender unto me, I respond accordingly. End of quote. A devotee must therefore be completely free from envy, especially of other devotees. To envy other devotees is a great offense, Vaishnava aparat. A devotee who constantly engages in hearing and chanting Sravan Kirtan is certainly free from the disease of envy, and thus he becomes eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. I read the next verse, which is more related to tomorrow's, but anyway, we follow what is there. So text number 24. Now Maharaj Parikshit starts to speak. He asks questions and then the answers will be coming. Sri Raja Uvacha Katansa Bhagavan Ramo Bhratrimba Swayan Atmanaha Tasmin Baten Bat Bavartamta Praja Pauras Cha Ishware. Translation. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Sukadev Goswami, how did the Lord conduct himself and how did he behave in relationship with his brothers who were expansion of his own self, and how did his brothers and the inhabitants of Ayodhya treat him? So today's verse and purport, again, translation. King Parikshit, O King Parikshit, anyone who already received the narrations concerning the characteristic of Lord Ramachandra's pastimes will ultimately be free from the disease of envy and thus be liberated from the bondage of fruitive activities. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Buddhale Srimate Rupa Swami Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Buddhale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. In the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives the root cause of what brings the living entity into the material existence. Like in the Judeo-Christian tradition, it is called the original sin. They depict this original sin as the moment in which Eve convinced Adam to bite that prohibited fruit, the apple. Yeah, sure, yeah, exactly, something like that. But the principle of the original cause of the living entity to come into the material world. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita in the 7th chapter, he said, Icha dvesha shamutena dvanda mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge janti parantapa. He says that ocean of Bharat, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by the dualities arising from desire and hate. So, this Icha and Dvesha are the cause, the original cause of what brings the living entity, the pure living entity, into the material existence, the material world, the world of delusion. So, Icha means desire, and Dvesha, in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada translates as hate. But he also explained this Dvesha means envy. And so, Prabhupada explained, Icha means desire. Desire of what? When the living entity, this desire enters into their heart, that what it will be for me to be the Lord of all, to be able to lord over everything, material nature, to have the desire to have Krishna's position. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller, the Param Ishvara, the controller and the source of everything, the supreme enjoyer. What it would be like for me to have that position, that desire? And Dvesha means hate or envy. Because Krishna is in that position, then if I'm to be in that position, I have to get rid of Krishna. And it manifests into hate. I remember one time my spiritual master was given a class and he was highlighting this point, this Icha Dvesha, that is present in the most how you say, when you peel all the layers, the most, deep, ingrained in the deepest part of our consciousness or our condition, in the deepest part of our conditional life, you find that. It's at the root of everything. It's from everything spans from that. Material life, material consciousness expands from that. So, at the very core of one heart, in the conditioned state, is hate for Krishna, envy. And that's that. When I heard that, it was all of a sudden it hit me that actually I hate Krishna. And it was very hard to actually deal with that because we're devotees. And the fact is that we have, affection for Krishna and for Krishna's devotees, but at the heart, there is this envy. And it came to me, okay, so how do I put this thing together? Because I feel attachment towards the deities. Shishi Kishore Kishori, Shishi Radha Govinda, Shishi Radha Modar, the deities that have been merciful, that have bestowed mercy upon my life as a devotee. I have affection. I remember, every time I remember, there's this affection in the heart. And when you come in front of the deities and when you chant and you feel their affection, there is that connection, there's a relationship. But then, like Lord Chaitanya, when he laments that if my heart is not melted when I hear the pastimes of the Lord, when I see the Lord, it means that my heart still, steel frame. So if I'm not able to fully surrender to Krishna, to fully understand, to fully be in that position of full surrender to Him, it means, if I'm still finding some shelters or something in the material world, if I'm still holding to a sense of false independence, if I'm holding still to some material things, to actually the idea of happiness within this material world, if I'm still holding any desires or any type of attachment to life or separate from Krishna, then it means that I'm still exercising that hate. It still is there in the heart. And it's something very shocking to come to terms to. That actually I have the capacity to hate or to have envy towards such a beautiful, kind personality such as Krishna. But that is the original thing. That is the original thing that is in our heart. This desire to lure, to be in Krishna's position, and the hate towards Krishna because he is in that position. So the question is, how do we become free from that? And why is that such an important thing to pay attention to? Because it's at the core. And what are the manifestations of this envy? How is it manifest in our actions towards Krishna and towards each other, Krishna's devotees? The manifestation of this is, it is explained that there are 6 enemies of the mind, 6 enemies of the living entity, the 6 enemies of the living entity. And these 6 enemies becomes like very potent obstacles into actually connecting with Krishna and doing devotional service. Is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya, which is translated as lust, Kama, anger, Krodha, greed, Lobha, illusion, Moha, madness is Mada, is also pride. Madness or pride, I consider the same translation. And Matsarya, envy. So these things are grounded as the most powerful enemies that we have against devotional service. And the scriptures tell us that how do we become free of these enemies is by the process of hearing and chanting. At the core of actually, Hare Krishna. At the core of the purification that has to be there to be able to be free oneself from this disease is the hearing and chanting. And that's what we hear in this verse today, that Mataji, be quiet, okay? No, sir? Okay. At the heart of, or the process that allows one to actually become free is when we be in the process of hearing the narrations or the pastimes, the beautiful pastimes of the personality of Godhead. Ramacaritan, in this case, Srila Sukadev Goswami is telling Maharaj Parikshit about hearing the pastimes of Lord Ramacandra. And by hearing the pastimes of Lord Ramacandra, one who is constantly hearing the pastimes of the Lord, one is guaranteed to be free from this disease of envy. And from the disease of envy, from these desires, then all the other enemies are eliminated. I get distracted by this. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, all these things are eliminated. So, the process of hearing and chanting in the Bhagavatam, Srila Sutta Goswami tells us that, in the second chapter, the famous second chapter, that once he explains what the goal of life should be, Jivasya Tattva Jigyasha, that whatever ones do, whatever actually, any activity that we do, any type of duty that we perform, simply, if it doesn't arises an attachment or an affinity for hearing the messages of the Lord, we can consider a waste of time. Shushusho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Kata Ruchi. This Vasudeva Kata, Ruchi means a taste. If we don't get a taste, if the activities that we do, whatever activities in the world, duties, if it doesn't arises this ruchi, this taste for the kata of the Lord, the messages of the Lord, then shrama eva hi kevalam. It is simply a waste of time. So, the purpose of life is to put oneself into that space, the space of facilitate the understanding of the absolute truth. By how? By hearing and chanting. And Sukadev Goswami, after establishing that the goal of life is Jivasya Tattva Jigyasha, to understand the absolute truth, he says that therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of all devotees. With the sword in hand, intelligent man cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? So, by hearing the messages of the Lord, hearing the kata of the Lord, by hearing, by remembering, by worshiping, then all the unwanted things in the heart gets eliminated. Who eliminates it? Sutta Goswami explained that Krishna does that. Krishna does that when he sees the sincere devotee making an endeavor to listen to his messages. Shrimbatan swakata Krishnam punyan shavana kirtana hridunoti hyabadrani. What is it? Hridunoti hyabadrani. See here. Anyone remember? Hridunoti hyabadrani. Vidunoti shuhit satam. That Krishna from within the heart, at his super soul, when he sees the devotee who has developed an urge to hear, he cleanses all the desires, all this disease of envy. He cleanses it from the heart, and thus establish the devotee in devotional service. So, by this quality, when one puts oneself in the process of hearing and chanting, then the envy starts to succeed and eliminate itself gradually. So although it's shocking to come to understand that actually within the core of my heart there is this animosity, there is jealousy, envy, hate towards Krishna, this disease condition. Nevertheless, because of the mercy of the devotees, then by I've been engaged in the process of hearing and chanting, and I've been becoming purified, and I'm in the process of becoming free from that disease, that original terrible condition. And then I should be able to enter into more and more confidential knowledge towards the Lord, and become to fully realize that. Krishna highlight that in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, when he gives the qualification for to receive the most confidential knowledge to Arjuna. The most confidential knowledge, this what he defines as the king of all knowledge and the king of all confidential knowledge, secrets. Rajya Vidyam Rajya Guhyam. But Krishna says to Arjuna, I'm going to give you this entrance to this most confidential knowledge because this quality. Pravakshami, I'm going to explain to you, Anusujave. Anusujave. Asuya means jealousy, envious. Anusuya means free from envy. Because you're free from envy, then I will explain to you this most confidential knowledge, knowing which you should be relieved from the miseries of material existence. So we find that for many of us, when we came in contact with the devotees, many of us don't have any clue of Krishna and Krishna's position. And even if many of us who had some religious background in whatever, other religions, Catholicism or Christianity or Judaism or any. There was a very vague, to say at best, understanding of God's position. So, in the beginning of that, it was not very clear. But as soon as we start this process of hearing and chanting, all of a sudden, at one point, at least in the case of ourselves, the devotees, we came to a point to say, yes, Krishna is God. Just that in itself shows that we have become purified of this envious, mentality to one stance. Now we recognize and we look up to Krishna, we look up to Him. We're still conditioned by some desires and by some attachments that are manifestation of this original thing, Icha, Dvesha, Samutena. However, we're in the process of purifying ourselves. We're in the process of becoming free from that. So that's where the hearing and chanting becomes so important. Because the hearing and chanting is like the cleansing method. It's like if you're, after working very hard and you're full of all dirt and grease and all that stuff, you go into the shower and you start to clean yourself. It takes time. It takes scrubbing, it takes soaping, it takes all this stuff, to get rid of all the dirt. But while you're in that process, you're in the process of cleansing yourself. So that submissive, of that taking in a submissive way to the process of hearing and chanting is glorified. Is glorified as the right process to becoming free, completely free. Just in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva just establishes from the very beginning. It's amazing how the Bhagavatam starts with, Srila Vyasadeva. Just the very first phrase is establishing Krishna's position. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And then establishing that he worship him because he's God. He is the absolute truth. Satyam Param Dimahi. Because he is the absolute truth, I meditate upon him. He is my worshipper Lord. And then he says that in the second verse, that all these different methodologies that are sort of mixed with material conceptions, they are out. Dharma projito kaitava atra. Dharma projito kaitava atra. Paramo nirmat saranam satam. That who are that these narrations that he is going to give, the narration of the Bhagavatam, have nothing to do with this Kaitava Dharma, this different process that still entertains a connection to this world. In other words, it's still sort of nourishing that original seed of material existence. But rather, this is a type of narration that is relished by the Nirmatsaranam satam. Nirmatsaranam, the root is near. When you use near, means that it doesn't exist, like nirvana. Nirmatsaranam. Matsaranam comes from the word matsarya, which is envy. Remember the 6 enemies? So when we're free from matsarya, then that is the position of the satam, the pure devotees. The pure devotees, the quality of the pure devotees is nirmatsaranam, similar to today's verse, than when we become free from that. So these narrations, especially the Bhagavatam, Vedyam Vashtavan Atravashtu, that Vedyam, that is factual, that is knowledge, that is these narrations are giving you the factual thing, that is different from anything that have to do with illusory things. We're talking about the factual absolute truth. And Vashtu Shivadam Tapatrayo Mulanam, that putting oneself in contact with this absolute truth, with this factual knowledge, will give the most auspicious things to the person who's receiving, because it destroys trayo mulanam. It destroys the influence of the 3 modes of nature, the threefold miseries. The threefold miseries. So the miseries that arises from our own mind and body, from other entities, and from nature, he eliminates the influence of that in one's life. So sadhyo, how did this happen? When Prabhupada say this process of srushubhis is to hear. When simply, submissively, the persons who put themselves in this shushubhi tatshanat, one is established, very well established in the process of hearing and chanting, then from within the heart, Krishna established himself. Shadyo hridi aviruddhyate. That, he says, as soon as one attentively and submissively hear the message of the Bhagavatam by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within the heart. With that, then all these unwanted things are eliminated. Then all these obstacles, all the way to this original envy and animosity towards Krishna, becomes fully eliminated, and one is qualified to go back home, back to Godhead. At that time only we can actually go back home, back to Godhead. As long as we have any trace of desire or attachment to this world, then we have to take another body. So, therefore, Krishna, let's see here. Therefore, to develop this attachment for hearing becomes the most important thing. Most important thing. And Srila Sutta Goswami explained that what is the easiest method to achieve that? So he says that by serving the devotees who have that. Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra. By serving those devotees who possess this attachment, who are free from envy, then we develop also this Vasudeva Kataruchi, this affinity to hear the messages of the Lord. So I stop here. Any comments or questions?
I just remember hearing, to the degree in which one is free from sinful activity, to that degree he can surrender to Guru and Krishna. So that's kind of what you're saying, but it, concise. Something that just came to mind.
Yeah. Thank you. Gradual process, purification.
I have a comment and a question. I just find it interesting to meditate on the word dvesha. It means two controllers, dve and isha, dvesha. So that's like a really direct meaning to envy. It's like there's a supreme controller, and we want to be there can't be two supreme controllers. Right. So that's the dvesha, and that creates this feeling of envy to the supreme controller. My second question is, if you have any advice how to take more shelter of the simple process of hearing and chanting, rather than trying to solve all the different problems without that. I seem to take shelter of my own intelligence and mind, and then that leads to frustration because I'm not understanding the essence of why. From my understanding, if I chant nicely and hear nicely, then everything else falls into place naturally, easily. But if you try to go around that hearing and chanting and try to set up a nice situation, then it never becomes a nice situation. So I'm wondering if you have any advice how to just simply take shelter of the hearing and chanting process.
Not easy, no? I mean, I can only tell you, what I'm trying to preach to myself, which is probably what you try to preach to yourself. Because we hear pretty much, that, and we sort of understand it theoretically, or to some degree, not only theoretically, but to some degree. I mean, Krishna said to Arjuna, in one sense, there's certain similarities of, tackling the problem, because it's a problem in the mind. It's a problem of mind control, controlling the chanchala nature of the mind, to be able to, be steady in the mind, that, is like a flame that doesn't becomes, with any agitation, like that, but it's steady. So Arjuna asked, controlling the mind, it's impossible. It's more difficult than control the wind. So Krishna say, by constant practice and what is it, the other one? Attachment? Detachment, yeah, by constant practice and detachment. So we're practicing. It's like, you know, we find ourselves, at least I can speak with myself, exactly the same thing that you're saying, you know, and it becomes very apparent to me during japa. I find that it's the best during japa. Somehow some devotees also said this, and you know, I find it also very true in myself. I've observed it. And sometimes, you know, is embarrassing just to cut myself. Not sometimes, it's always embarrassing. That it's like the best time in which your ideas are the most clear to tackle and to figure it out how you're going to approach the different services, responsibilities and things. Ideas comes during japa period when I'm chanting. Okay, so if I do this, if I do that, ideas to give a class, ideas to, you know, how to approach this problem in the ashram, how to do this, how to, you know, the future thing. I mean, it's incredible. The whole thing is just so busy. And then the fact is that you can hardly do anything, you know. You can, all these ideas, you can probably take, you know, just one little one of them and being able to sort of, you know, and not even very perfectly. Or maybe, you know, you get a little organized for your day, but the fact is that you miss the opportunity to become purified of all this sense of being a controller, all this sense of being a doer, all this stuff, and what to speak of which are basically, to be a controller and to be a doer is just a manifestation of that ichadvesha, which is, you know, like the hard pill to swallow of a devotee that actually, I have something in my heart that hates Krishna when we're Krishna's devotees. So, and then I find myself reminding myself during japa, can you have faith that, you know, you take this simple process of, just exactly how you say it, this simple process of hearing and chanting, and Krishna will give you the intelligence. Right now is this. The rest, why not trust Krishna in the heart, that he will give us the intelligence to do the thing when we do the right things, when we actually take the time to connect with him, to hear and to be in contact with him in the form of the holy name, and become purified, eliminate the unwanted things, the things that are obstacles. Because in the process of doing our service, in our conditioned states, boy, we hit obstacles. It looks like we always, it's like, you know, the discussion that we have sometimes, Giridhari. Like, we almost, you know, constantly running after, you know, behind, just trying to catch up, keeping up with the obstacles. It looks like the obstacles are, you know, is never ending. It's a never ending race. Is like, you know, what's the race with the obstacles that you just jumping is like eternally going like that. It doesn't have an end, you know. And you knock yourself and then stand you again, you know, like it's an obstacle race. And you know, we think we can do it on our own, but you know, as actually Krishna is the one who's going to remove those obstacles. That's the Srimad Kata Krishna. It is he who removes the obstacles from within the heart. So it is he who gives the intelligence. It is He who gives the directions. So we just simply have to put ourselves. It's a simple method. So, but boy, it's like this seems so obstinate, no? I mean, I can talk to myself. It's embarrassing. And it's embarrassing when you have so many years of trying, going at it, and still doesn't penetrate, even though you know better. But, hey, like this seminar that we have with ISKCON Prabhu, in which he brought actually, the process of becoming free from being addicted, from an addiction, is a gradual process. It's not this. And in that gradual process, there's different things. There's an awareness of the condition. That's the first. The path for healing oneself is that when we become aware that I have an addiction. And then with the next step is that you start to do the things, start to change your behavior or adopt some other means to change the behavior. And then the part of maintaining that process of changing your behavior, but then it comes something that is a relapse. And it's part of the process. And then after you relapse, you snap again, and you go back into, okay, I'm aware. And then go, is this circle. But then in the process of this circle, what these people explain of overcoming an addiction is that the relapses start to become, gradually shorter and shorter and shorter, and the maintaining the process of purification becomes greater and greater. So we have to accept that's the process. So relapse is not necessarily something like you fail the process, but rather it's part of the process. If I'm explaining, that. So practice with enthusiasm, with conviction that the process works, and with patience, that it takes time. And for some of us it may take, many decades. For some of us it may take less, but nevertheless, we have to go through that process. So I would say, the advice that I give is the advice that I give myself, and most likely the advice that you give into yourself. It's just constant reminder, practice. Like, cut yourself, and then, like, I appreciate very much when I have discussions with you in terms of how strong you feel that we, establishing the simple activities that is just hearing and chanting, just, beyond trying to conquer the world and make the world Krishna conscious, fine, we have that mandate, but, we pay attention to these times of just simply hearing and chanting on a regular basis, as a group. And, I appreciate that and, recognize myself that, and I feel, also supportive and grateful for that too. Those ideas, and we also one like yourself pursue them. Somehow or others have to be an aspect of what we have to do, at least to help us, with that. And you have any comment on any talk on that? I know, because this is something, I'm saying this, I asking Giridhari because for all of you, this is something that is very, like, it's a constant theme in Giridhari's Prabhu's devotional life.
What is it? What's the theme?
Constant theme.
What is the theme? I didn't follow what you're saying.
Simply, you know, like, we don't do enough of that. Hardly we do, you know, and we have to do it as a tempo, as a group.
Yeah, my thought is, and I was chanting japa this morning. I was feeling, I was really focused in chanting. Specifically, I was just meditating on Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And when I just think about Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, even for like 10 seconds, then I can start to think of Krishna. And what I just remembered, there's a verse that says, like, even a lame man who remembers Lord Chaitanya can climb a mountain, or something like that, or like a deaf man can hear, something like, I don't remember exactly the verse, but then someone who doesn't remember Lord Chaitanya, difficult or easy things become so difficult. That's like my experience, is because in what Maharaj, Ramapad Maharaj told me, is if you understand the why you're doing, then the what and the how become very easy, very clear. So if we are like absorbed in the essence of meditating on Krishna, especially now, and Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are like our total masters. They're our Yuga avatar, and also they're also directly Krishna and Balaram. They just came 500 years ago, and our whole movement and our whole process of Sankirtan is based around Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So if we don't meditate on them as our lords, everything becomes difficult and nothing makes any sense. But when we're connected with Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, everything is super clear, super simple, and everything that Prabhupada has given us, the whole mission, the whole purpose, is extremely clear and straightforward. But without it, it's just a list of problems, obstacles that you can't, because we're on our own. Because in my experience, on my own, it's like if I try to do this service without thinking about why, or being absorbed in Krishna consciousness and the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, I can't even like wash my sleeping bag, because I'm like, I just would rather sleep in it than do something about it, like, because I'm so conditioned. It's like these easy things become difficult when I can't remember why I'm doing it, because I'm so conditioned.
Yeah, it's amazing. Because it's not that obstacles will be, poof, all of a sudden there's no obstacles. Obstacles will be there, but we don't deal with obstacles as, oh, you know, like these huge things that I have to, this all on my back, and then, you know, and like, you know, we cannot do it. We can, but rather is, you know, we sort of see things as, you know, Krishna is doing. We are sort of connected to Krishna, and then we do our thing, and then we trust Krishna. The obstacle is there. Krishna has a plan, you know. So you always have this approach that is very equipoise, or you don't become this way or that way. There's always the why, and it's very clear. Sometimes we become so like blinded by the how that we forget the why, and that's why you quote Ramapad Maharaj saying that, Yeah, thank you. Very nice. Jitendra Prabhu.
It's not that Maya is so strong, it's that our purpose is weak. You've heard that before?
Yes. Like Krishna says that surrender to him, then Maya, overcoming Maya has become very easy.
Overcoming the modes of nature is insurmountable, but when one surrenders to me, it's like water in a hoof print of a calf.
Yes. All right, so we can stop here. Thank you so much. Garantarashiman Bhagavatam ki jai.